Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special episode. We're joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Gregg Barsby, one of the few players who left a mark on the local scene here in Latvia. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for sparing us your time. And yeah, hopefully we'll have a nice interview here.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you having me. I'm excited to connect with you guys again. It was a small time that I had in Latvia. Hopefully we have a little more time next time.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hot minute since the last time we spoke. So let's catch up a little bit. So what's going on right now in your life?
Oh, it has been a hot minute, hasn't it? I think I saw you guys maybe a month and a half before I won the Worlds.
Yep.
So it's been quite the whirlwind since then. I moved to Texas. I left my hometown in California and moved out to East Texas to be in a more centralized location to tour. And now I have the ability to drive to 10, 12 states at a time, you know, at any point, and be able to get there within one day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, whereas before I had to take a flight or a very, very long drive, like 30-hour drive.
Oh, well, so, we would never imagine, like, here in Europe, you would just, you know, sounds crazy, those numbers, you know, like...
Yeah, and Latvia also is, like, really small, so from one side of the country to the other, it's, like, 400 kilometers, maybe, so
like, 4-hour drive.
Yeah, 4-hour drive just to go across whole country, so... Yeah, and USA is such a big, vast place.
And how are you liking...
a lot of... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, just how are you liking, like, the Texas so far? Is it different in how you play it there? Maybe some
it is a lot different. Yeah, it's a lot different than where I grew up. I grew up in the foothills of Northern California, in the gold country, actually very close to where gold was first discovered. So all the sediment kind of went down the mountain, and I lived about a third of the way up the mountain. Here in Texas, there's not really mountains. I live on the east side of the state, which is called the Piney Woods area. It's large pine trees and rolling hills. So it's not very dry, and Texas is such a big state that, similar to California, there's so many different climates here. You have like a subtropical climate, kind of where I am, and then down in like San Padre Island near Mexico, it's nearly tropical, like palm trees. Think Florida, but then all the way up at the top of the state and to the west side of the state is starts to get rocky and mountainous, kind of like New Mexico, and very, very windy and just harsh environment. So it is a lot different playing here. I've noticed that the weather or the air is a bit thicker, so I don't throw as far. Maybe that's getting older too, but yeah, it is a lot different. And what I was going to allude to earlier when you said I can't imagine how those long drives, I think that a lot of the European players who have come over this year and last year's and have started to tour around, they realize how enormous the tour is, and some of the drives that you have to do to get to the next stop, you know, are 12, 15-hour drives, which is pretty uncommon in Europe, I think.
Indeed. I can imagine you performing the next day, like after that kind of trip, even like the same day. Like if you arrive just at the venue, I'm not sure like how that goes. But yeah, it's crazy. So is there any like new shot shapes you are adapting to in Texas, or
not so much
rollers?
Shot shape, but you know, I usually just think of what I need to work on is what's ever in front of me, and whenever I am on the tour, whatever course is put in front of me, then I have to work on that throughout the week. Actually, just getting back into training now. preparing for the 2023 season. And most important thing is to rebuild my mid-range game. I haven't been much of a mid-range thrower through the years. I'm loving the new INNOVA J. Finally, something that has nice high-speed torque resistance. So I'm kind of just refamiliarizing myself with the mid-ranges, and letting it go with hyzer and turnover, and letting the disc really do its work. It's a zero high-speed turn, so I can throw it on any angle and it'll just hold the angle. And just learning a little bit about my own shots and trying to chisel my technique. So that's kind of been my focus as of recently. And then of course, the never-ending putting game.
I mean, you're famous for that. So, how is it looking this season and in the off season? Are you gonna hit those 60-footers, 100-footers?
I do plan on keeping the magic quotient high. As far as the throw-ins, that's like my favorite thing to do now. Is just to throw it in a big moment. It really gets people kind of like, oh my, like it just throws people off because they don't expect it.
Yeah.
And my favorite, actually, funny enough, this year, all 3 of my throw-ins late in the year were all with Paul Macbeth on the card. And
so he's the omen for that. Like,
I know Paul loves it too. He's just like, oh, this guy. Oh. So we always have a lot of fun playing. But, I think keeping the 25, 28, 8 meters, 8 to 9 meter putts, 7 meter putts, everything in that range, 7 to 10, is really important. Those are the ones that string together your rounds. They keep your game going. When maybe you get a little off on the way, you can make those. If you're consistent from that distance, then I feel like you have a chance wherever you are.
It's definitely a confidence thing. Because if you're confident with those ones, then you have a leeway a little bit on the drives, right? So even if you miss, you're confident on that range, and then you can run maybe a lot of the longer ones. So
that's the key too, right? Just not being and people they look at my putt and it goes way in the air and then comes down. I'm really using the gravity and trying to make a good, considerate stroke at the putt, but then I get 70 feet away. I'm not scared to give it a really strong bid, because if the 7 meter putts are good, then everything's okay.
Yeah. So how good are you at like 3-pointers in basketball?
In basketball, I'm pretty good. If like anything, I would need to practice the skill, and I think if I practiced the skill a little bit, I would start knocking them down pretty consistently. Yeah.
All right, and you mentioned about working on your short game with mid-ranges and all. If you remember the course you played here in Latvia,
UFO golf.
Yeah, great. What kind of stood out to you there? Maybe some holes.
Oh, what stood out to me? I love the building. That was my favorite.
The roundhouse.
The roundhouse. I think that it was just technical. I liked it because it was technical, and I remember Philo and I went in the playoff, right?
Yeah, you were like 12 down, playing blind. Basically, it was a tied course record. And I also have a story that I always share, because when we played, it was the first hole, like hole 12, right? We just started, and it's a 127 meter, like a flex forehand. So you turn around and you ask us, what do you guys do here usually? And I say, well, if you have a forehand and you just toss it in, like you do a little flex, you obviously have that forehand, you should be able to get it. And they're like, what else? I was like, oh, some guys throw rollers. And you're like, okay, rollers. And then I don't know if you took like a Roadrunner or something, whatever you had there with you, but you absolutely parked like next to the pin, blindly.
Just
and
asked where to put it on the ground, where you have to put the disc down, and where it will end. And it just was like parked.
Yeah, and I remember it blew my mind like straight away, so I couldn't focus on the round. Like, I was,
Oh, that's
That's
good.
insane.
I mean, I was fortunate where I grew up. We use a lot of rollers, and I think that's also something that I could probably practice a little bit more and train. Since moving out here, the earth isn't the same. It's a lot of sand, so rollers aren't as effective. But
so the
I mean,
discs don't fly in the air and the rollers don't roll.
that's right.
How do you play disc golf then?
I don't know. I stay on tour.
Yeah, but you had a really nice showing at the Texas State, right, this year?
I did, and I feel like that was partly because I helped design the layout, so I knew where to miss. But I did execute, which was nice, and kind of rare. We had a really rare week where it wasn't very windy. That course changes completely. Like,
Yeah.
You're in a different world when it's windy out there. So the fact that it was really calm gave me a huge advantage. And but yeah, I mean, isn't that what the game's about though? It's like having fun and throwing like a shot. You know, when we were in Latvia, that was the final stop on our tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we were pretty exhausted after partying in Estonia, which, you know, those guys go so hard. I don't know how we made it to UFO golf.
I guess now we have a challenge to have a party in Latvia.
Yeah,
Harder than
because
Estonia.
we're partying hard also.
Yeah, definitely. Those guys, amateurs.
And the
Latvia,
crews up at
real deal.
Estonia. Yeah, you know, I always try to bring back the fun factor. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
We both have it. Yeah.
Nice. Those are so sweet, man. I love that stamp.
Yeah, it's 2018, so it's like this one is the
It's the
disc.
year.
Yeah.
It's the year. Yeah. Yeah, I feel really fortunate, man. I've had a really good run the last 4 or 5 years, you know, since I've seen you guys. It's been really busy. We've hosted my girlfriend and we've hosted like 80 events on the side of playing the tour the last few years. So, but it's important when you get opportunity to really try to take that and take it forward and make it grow, you know. And I felt that that's the best way for me to help myself is really stick to my guns and go out and see the people. I've been touring for a really long time, so I have friends in a lot of the towns, and so it was good to come back and reconnect with people and bring an event and bring fun and the love of the sport. That's kind of been my generalized focus for the last few years. This next year, and I had a good year playing last year, a little up and down, but had a win. You know, I won in Norway, which was great. Won on the Pro Tour. I won the Minnesota Majestic finally, and had a battle royale with a young talent out of North Carolina, Evan Smith. So the wins came. You know, you can't win them all, but it's nice when you're playing good to get some wins. But I think my main goals are just to get a little bit more consistent. This year, I just kind of had a few events that I was either tired or, you know, we were hosting events midweek and I didn't get the kind of practice that I wanted to get. And that can, you know, and then you make some judgment calls and they don't work, and then you're kind of like, wow. I mean, you know, so I'll try to, you know, focus on consistency this next year.
And how you try to achieve that? Are you like running any off-season like leagues on your own, or are you participating in ones, or just personal practice all around?
Yeah, personal. I bought some property about 100 meters that way.
All right, great.
Yeah, it's a 12-acre parcel, so enough for me to practice and be able to sculpt my lines and really go focus. From where I live, my closest course is 25 minutes away, so that's 50 there and back. I really wanted to have something closer that I could be able to really dial in. If I want to go play now, I go play now. So that's the goal. I'm close. I'm close over there. We're not there just yet. It's not a course. It's just a training facility and some woods. and hopefully some baskets here pretty soon.
Cool.
Great. But what would you say like the biggest difference in playing like in Europe and like touring in USA would be?
Oh, the food.
Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
better?
I guess it depends on what country you're in.
Yeah.
In Latvia, I really didn't get a chance to go out and eat a few meals, just because we were there so quickly, and then we flew out of Riga the next day. Whenever we're in Norway, you know, it's loaf. it's bread and fish soup. So I like the food here better. That's usually the biggest kind of jump. And then the time change is another thing.
Yeah,
Kind of getting
sure.
used to that, giving myself a couple days. This year in Norway was really, really fast turnaround for us, with the tournament starting on Wednesday. And we didn't fly till like Monday night. So it was
So
pretty
yeah,
messy.
you were always like chasing, right? Until the very
Yeah.
end.
It was brutal. 5 hours sleep. 5 hours sleep every night, you know, just could not sleep on that trip. I don't know what it was. I don't know how I won that tournament.
Autopilot, just winning.
Yeah, like just find a way, you know. I found a way. And
Yeah.
of course, in Norway, I feel like the energy really lifted me up there. You know, they have this energy where I feel like they're frozen for 4 months. And
Yeah.
then, you know, they unfreeze and they're all really excited. Everybody's ready to move. So,
We had a one player there representing essentially the country. Not sure if you got to meet him. A young gun called.
I think I might.
Reiners?
I briefly remember meeting him, like kind of offhandedly in passing, just trying to see everybody. I mean, it's such a great community up there. It's hard not to meet everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if I really got some face-to-face time with him.
But yeah, he had like a really good showing there, like 13th place.
Yeah,
Not even 1,000 rated at that point. And yeah, so we have a lot of faith in him as a community essentially right now.
let's go. That's what it's
Yeah.
all about, right? You're like,
Yeah.
all right, you're my guy. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
we're
he's
come on.
like practically living on his home course. Like
Yeah.
before the light comes up, he's putting, then he goes to the course, plays it all day, and he's the last one coming off the course and going home. Yeah. So.
Does that sound like familiar?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, yeah. Very familiar. That's exactly what I used to do. Where I grew up, I lived walking distance from the course. And I would be out there. Once I got my driver's license, I would drive around the park. You know, it'd actually take longer to drive around the park and then go to where the disc golf course is than to walk. But I think since I had a driver's license, I drove around at like 4 a.m. and then put my lights on the basket and putt until dawn. And then before anybody showed up, I was already out of there. And I think that speaks for competition. You know, it's a lot of mental game. He probably feels like he's the most prepared, you know, and having that feeling going into an event, or you know, feeling those emotions when you're competing is a really good backbone, where you know, okay, I've put in my time, I've been working at this, and I'm ready. So
Yep.
good for him. Hope he keeps doing well.
Yep, we all do. So I guess then the general message, right, to the parents of the young kids, you know, just let them do their thing, support them. Just basically concerned about what would you say to the parents who are still thinking whether to give their kids to play disc golf, you know. This is
I
like
think,
a good career
I think
choice.
at young age, at any young age, right? I'm not a father, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell the kids. But I would say, you know, whatever they're passionate about early and young in life, but as they grow and get into adolescence, as they start, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15, and on up, it's just really about dedication to craft. You know, my parents didn't really see that light. Now, this was, 20, 15 years ago, where they didn't really. They're like, what are you going for? And now they understand. They've seen the game grow so much, and they saw that I had fans, which was, crazy to me and to them. So they started to realize, like, oh, okay, he's really going for something. And I got on the world rank list. I was ranked in the world. And I think I've been on that list for a lot of years now, which is cool. I've kept the dream alive, with hard work and dedication. So I think, if they're hard workers and they're dedicated, right, you can do anything. It's all about what you put your mind to.
Would you say that it's more or much easier nowadays with disc golf becoming so popular, and I don't know, the prizes are getting bigger, and it's more viable, even career choice?
Yeah, most definitely. Yes. There were very few people that you could say had a career when I was starting to come up. Obviously Climo, Barry Schultz, the Listman brothers. There were a few on the list, but the list was not long. There were maybe 12 people on it. And now, I think you have more sponsorship opportunities, and obviously with media and tech, there's different opportunities for young people to gain recognition, where I guess now you can find a route. There's multiple routes now, whereas when I came up, it was just put it all in and then go beat these guys. That's how I got sponsored by Discraft. I kept sending them emails way back in the day. This is when I was wanting to get sponsored by Discraft my rookie year. I kept sending them emails after every tournament of which players on their team that I beat. Okay, I beat this guy. He's on your team. This guy. He's on your team. I kept sending them, and then they finally signed me up in October of that first year. But that list was starting to get like this. I'm like,
yeah, I mean that's a valid strategy. Sounds like a life hack.
I'm coming out.
Yeah.
I'm beating your boys. So
you're wasting money, guys.
But nowadays, you can get an Instagram, or you can post content, right, and gain a following that way. So it's a bit different. And then,
but it's also a little bit of more pressure, because now you have to have a social media following. Apart, if previously we were just you're good. You win a couple of tournaments, and the scouts would approach you and themselves.
Right. Right. That's true. That's a really good point. I don't really have much of a social media strategy, just to be heartfelt and be myself. That's usually it. Just because I'm built in that last generation, right? That's not necessarily my MO. I think it's good. I could probably improve, but nowadays with the youngsters, that's more their speed. And then there's way more sponsors. So, where there were 2 to 5 sponsors back when I started, now there's 20, maybe more. There's at least 4 times more sponsors that have opportunities for people. So yeah, I mean, the young guys, they do the social media good. I just post on it. I just say, hey, I focus on the things that I can control, and sometimes social media can get a little out of control. Just with comments and people's opinions, and the genuine nature of it isn't really there all the way for me. So,
Yep. We kind of, wanted to keep this nice and sweet, short interview. Okay. Don't want to, hold you any longer, but when you said you still, last few questions, when you said you still have that, drive, you still have your mind set up on the big things, probably like any player, to win more titles. So there's no any plans for retirement, this year we heard from Seppo Paju that he retired. So what kind of your thoughts on that and your plans?
Man, it is crazy to think that guys that I saw come up as kids are retiring. That is, it's something else. I'm really proud of Seppo. He's put in so much time and effort, not only in the game and the sport, but obviously with Prodigy and him being an owner and just building a team. So he's got a great path in front of him. I salute and give congratulations to Seppo on an amazing career. He's huge for European disc golf. As far as for me, I don't plan on retiring from playing. This year, I'll probably have a pretty good schedule of most of the pro tours and such. With my main focus being the World Championships. We're going back to Vermont, where I won 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, soon to be 5 years ago. And I would love to win again. I know that it won't never be the same, but I know deep down in my heart, if I work hard enough, I know I can do it again, and I can shock the world again. I'm not afraid of anybody's talent level when it comes to that specific course. There's certain courses on the tour, they just don't suit me up. You've got these young guys that throw really, really far. I'm actually a little concerned for a lot of them. You look at Eagle, who's sustained some injuries, and Eagle's got to be, one of the most talented players that we've ever seen in the sport, with just naturally gifted. And a lot of the new young players, Gannon and those guys, they're long and lanky. I hope that they can find the longevity. And I don't know. And the courses are pushing longer and longer. You're seeing guys go down on the tour all the time, taking weeks off and stuff. Yeah. It used to never be like that. And it's because they're stretching these courses. Actually, I think, in my opinion, they're a little too far. I don't think it's a problem to have big arm courses, but we don't need to have 7 of the 12 events on the tour be geared toward that. But this comes into, media and how disc golf looks, and, what courses can be filmed, and there's so many moving parts to that. So I understand the Pro Tour has a product that they would like to put out, and that's what they're going to do. But as far as retirement, I'm not going to retire. I might just not play some of those events because they don't suit me up, and I can probably utilize my energy elsewhere.
Yep, totally agree. I heard this debate as well. How can we make disc golf harder, for example, so that the courses are not as scoreable. So it's either increase the distance or shrink the target. The constant debate. So,
yeah.
You can talk a lot about this, but yeah.
I want it smaller, but that's look, that's just me, right? I'm just one person. I think there's room. I genuinely think there's room for events that have a smaller target, though, and maybe someday someone will design a basket that's that perfect size, and they want to host events, and maybe they're not PDGA sanctioned, but maybe there's other sanctioning that comes with it. And, the game is still very young, so I don't know, man. What do you guys think?
Well, we're still not at that level
Yeah.
Even if the courses would be 400 feet, it would still pose a challenge, so...
Come on. Well, look, if you miss the whole basket now, you'll just miss it when they make it smaller, so it's no big deal.
But then you're just missing comebacks, and they're playing ping pong instead of disc golf.
Oh, that's awesome. So, now... I'm not super up to date on the courses in Latvia. Are there any standout courses that I should know about?
Yeah, we actually had a bunch of new courses, the 18-hole ones, so the big ones, and this year in Talsi, so the 9-hill Open, where it's usually hosted.
Okay.
There's this big kind of bomb course that. It's not as bomb course compared to some US courses, of course, but it's a good course, and it's a European Tour stop now.
I saw that.
Yeah. So if you...
This year it was for Masters, but still there was open division, 9-hill Open, a competition. It just was one stop of Euro Tour for Masters, and it's next year also Also
just for
master?
MPO.
Ah, for
No,
MPO.
it's fully MPO
Yeah.
still. So,
Okay, they're kicking the old guys out, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they found a different place, but the guys in Tulsi worked hard to get this done because we finally need, a big event so we can
Because
see.
it's huge. It's never like happened in Latvia, like this
Yeah, that
of
is
like
awesome.
yeah.
That's really, really cool. I can't imagine you're like you're just waiting for a big tournament. You know, you guys have to travel probably a good ways to play big events. So, if you would, when we get off, if you want to send me a list of the courses I need to look up, because hopefully sooner than later I can come back before I'm in Masters.
Yeah.
I'm getting closer, man. They just announced this Masters tour. I'm like 4 more years. 4 more years.
Yeah, definitely. We had even like some smaller technical ones opened in Riga, like close proximity. So
Yeah,
I think
Latvian
that's
championship happened on like most popular course I think in Latvia
Yeah,
now.
it's like the most loved course.
Riekstokkalns. It's like in the winter. It's
Resort,
like
yeah.
it's for skiing. It has like
okay.
Yeah.
So there's some distance there to it as well.
Yeah, and it's a
Down the
beautiful
hills and stuff.
course.
Yeah,
Down the
uphill,
hills,
downhill.
up the hills. So
Love that. See, that's
yeah.
my stuff right there.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
And like the back nine is like fully in the woods, so it's super technical.
yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah, so the
Oh,
front nine
boy.
you survive with like some bumps here and there, and then the back nine you just shape shot.
All right, I'm gonna have to look those up. I hope I can come see you guys again sometime. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to come on.
Well,
here.
it looks like, judging by the history, you need to do it before you go to Vermont again.
That's
so-
a fact.
Yeah.
So will
That
you
is
be coming next year to Europe? Play some competitions or?
I think so. I'd like to do Norway again and then European Open. The issue that I've ran into these last couple of years, guys, is that there's so many events.
Yeah.
So there's opportunity to work. I mean, ultimately, obviously I love the game. It's my passion. It's what I put my life's work into, but it's also sometimes it's a job. It's a gig.
Yeah.
And once you're 12 weeks in, you really start getting that grind where, you're going out to go to work.
Yeah.
I try to keep the fun factor high, but there's some days, and I guess it's as I get older too, is that my body doesn't feel good. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go do this again.
Yeah, you'll have to pick your battles at some point.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. But I'm still having fun. Like that's my big thing. I just want to have a good time doing it.
Yeah. And it's the most important factor. So yeah, having fun, disc golf. Let's kind of leave it with that, right?
No doubt.
And on this note, so thanks a lot for
Thank
this
you.
interview. It was real nice seeing you.
Pavlos, Arnis, thank you guys. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's nice to reconnect. I know it's late for you guys, so have a nice sleep, and maybe I see you in 2023. I really hope so.
Yeah, me too.
Right?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you.